Now for global business updates, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Ayo. Welcome back. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers on this very rainy Tuesday. Lots to get into. Let's start with the U.S. markets quickly. The NASDAQ, the tech-heavy NASDAQ, suffering its biggest one-day drop in about 2 months. Looks like there was a lot of profit-taking on the U.S. markets. S&P 500 down about 0.3 percentage points. Dow Jones Industrial Average, though, I think it was marginally up. The stock markets have been roaring, forward. It's funny. Biden never ever talks about the stock market, but he's reached multiple new highs under him. We'll be seeing whether he's going to discuss that in that big debate that will be happening on Thursday. Let's get to Nvidia, and this is why I just love equity markets. They are so dramatic. The story changes all the time. Nvidia has lost about $430 billion in market cap over the last 3 days. The shares have fallen for 3 consecutive days. In fact, it's down 13% from a peak that it reached last week. Now, Nvidia is still up about 140% so far this year, but it looks like, again, profit-taking is what shareholders have been engaging in. So that means that Nvidia is no longer the most valuable company in the world. So it's dropped back down to 3rd place behind Microsoft and Apple. So it looks like this back and forth between these 3 companies is going to be continuing. Don't forget, though, that later this year, Nvidia will be releasing Blackwell, a new chip, which some say is going to bring up new highs for the stock. So investors are saying that this is probably a good time to buy the dip on Nvidia. I do want to set this up for you as far as the debates. This is everybody. I can't wait for this debate between Trump and Biden. Let me set this up for you. You've got Casey Hunt, who is an anchor at CNN. She's going to be on the left-hand side of your screen. You've got Caroline Leavitt, who's going to be on the right-hand side of your screen. Caroline Leavitt is a spokesperson for the Trump campaign. So as you know, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper are the moderators for this particular debate. Trump is starting to sow seeds saying that it's going to be 3-on-1, that CNN is basically a left-wing station and they're going to be attacking him. So Leavitt, the spokesperson, tried to bring this up yesterday. Casey Hunt was like, you cannot attack my colleagues, and if you do so, I will kick you off. And that's what ended up happening. So take a look.
That your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay. What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate. Our thanks to Caroline. John.
Yeah, so that's colleagues backing colleagues. So Dr. Abati, Rufai, and Ayo, let me let you know that if anybody comes on the Global Business Report and talks smack about any of my Arise News colleagues, I will kick them off the interview right then and there. We all got to stand together. Let's go to South Africa.
That's not true.
According to
you are the king of colleague bashing.
Rufai,
hashtag a guy that played my clip yesterday.
Rufai, I got your back.
And tried to twist the facts. Is it all you wrote? I know you so well. You're my guy.
But Rufai, you gotta keep things factual. You gotta keep things factual. I gotta keep you in check every once in a while. You gotta keep things factual.
No, we'll go back to that matter. Don't worry.
But I got your back. Rufai, I got your back. So
I don't know that.
To South Africa. According to sources, the ANC and the DA it looks like negotiations are warming up. Apparently, the spokesperson for the DA, that's the Democratic Alliance, wanted about, I think it was about 11 or 15 spots in cabinet. And they also wanted, I think a vice presidential position. ANC was saying, no, you're not going to get that. But it looks like things have been improving. So negotiations continue in South Africa. We'll see what comes up with those coalition talks. Let's get to Nigeria. A circular released by the CBN yesterday saying they are going to provide Naira liquidity to IMTOs, international money transfer operators, basically giving them Naira access to a window at the CBN in order to allow for remittances, transactions to be processed quickly. If it comes in by 12 noon, they're going to clear it up. Also, we've seen, I don't want to jinx things, but we've seen 100-day Naira USD volatility at a low not seen since November. And also so far this year, the trade, the band within which the Naira has been trading has been between 1,473 to 1,485. Although yesterday I think it closed at 1,490. So, well, you know, look, Afrexim inflows coming in, another inflow hopefully coming in from the World Bank. Are we finally seeing the Naira finding its value between 1,478 and maybe 1,005? I mean, again, June, so far in June, we've seen that come down just a bit. Let's get to Femi Otedola, the man with the Midas touch. FBNH was the biggest mover on the NGX yesterday. Folks are wondering who was the big person who bought so many shares. It turns out it was him. He's consolidated his shareholding, number one shareholding position at FBNH. He's the chair, of course, of FBN Holdings, Mr. Femi Otedola. I think he bought about 798 million shares, average price of about 21 Naira a share, about 17.2 billion Naira that he spent. So it shows, you know, he's now the only shareholder, if you add, you know, all the proxies and everything, the only shareholder at FBNH above 10%. I think he's about 11.2, 11.3. Shows that he's very committed to the company. He's, you know, he's far and away the largest shareholder. So Otedola then making the news there. And then I was going to get to this yesterday, but there wasn't enough time. You know, we've been talking a lot about former leaders and leaders in Nigeria trying to show that their belts are tightening while things are getting tough. But not Dino Melaye, who former Senate Nigerian member of the Nigerian Senate, who from Kogi, who you all know, loves his cars. Here's a tweet from him where apparently he was shopping for a Rolls-Royce 2024 Rolls-Royce Spectre, and you can see the tweet says, you know, forward forever, backward never. God do am. He says it was God and no vex. Here's the video that he posted, which caused a lot of. This thing has about 2 million views on Twitter. Dancing actually, but that music is quite infectious. But a lot of the responses, you know, talking about leadership in Nigeria, you know, where did a lot of questions like, where did you get the money from to buy a 400? Well, I don't know if he bought it. Maybe he was just shopping for it. But you can imagine the kind of reactions that he got. That's our update for today.
So, Rotus, let's quickly go back to yesterday and talk about that. I knew what I was saying. And with all the inflows we keep announcing every day, we need to be exact and we need to be careful. In the space of last year to now, you can go check Nairametrics, they reported it. You can go check Vanguard, it was reported there, that the bond market, the government used the bond instrument to collect 20.1 trillion worth of debt. 20.1 trillion. Because I get what you were playing out yesterday, that once you convert, obviously, the debt to dollars, it will be lesser because you're using more Naira to look for dollar. But it doesn't stop the fact that there's been a lot of borrowing in Naira. And when you do the empirical calculation of that number you were citing at that 97, you will see that when you convert that divided by 1,415,000 to the Naira, you see that the money should normally be around $79 million. But there are other add-on spendings to it. And if you go and check the DMO statement, they said the debt that was collected for budgets and other things like that. So it's not, and I don't like this mentality of, oh, people are trying to talk down against the government. It's not to victimize the government. We're just saying government of President Tinubu will keep this borrowing in check. Because you're not only borrowing for this generation, other generation are involved. They are long-term tenure bonds, 2033 and all of that. But it's still a debt. That's just what I'm driving at. And that's just the fact I want to get right. Please. Okay,
all right,
next
Rotus,
person.
Thank you so much for the updates. I'd like to add two more things, just to talk about the ANCDA, Government of National Unity in South Africa, and how we've talked about strange bedfellows and how they would make this government work. Of course, the demands, yes, you say that they are making some progress, but I don't think it's yet uhuru yet, because a number of things still need to be decided in terms of appointments, cabinet makeup, who gets what, how much influence the DA would have, the proportion of other parties coming in. And so conversations are definitely still ongoing with that before we even begin to speak about going into policies, governance, stance, and moving on to governance. But very quickly, I'd like to congratulate Mr. Olatunji Bello, who's been announced as the new MD of the FCCPC, Competition and Price Protection of Consumers. And I just wanted to mention, because he was former chairman of the managing editor of This Day, and also a journalist, former commissioner for environment in Lagos State. But very importantly, he has quite big shoes to fill because, with regards to the previous man who held it, was quite a good job in that way, and a number of times to talk about how consumers ought to be protected and their rights, interests protected in Nigeria. But congratulations, but good work and a lot of work ahead of him, and I hope he's indeed able to fill those shoes.
Nvidia, last week, we were celebrating Nvidia when the stock rose phenomenally, and Nvidia overtook Apple and Microsoft. And, the celebration was that this is an indication of the boom with regard to artificial intelligence and the frenzy around artificial intelligence. But we made a point then that the main challenge that Nvidia will face will be sustainability. By yesterday, in fact, in the last 3 days or so, the stock has dipped. And it's not only Nvidia that is affected. All the other stocks within the AI range have gone down, whether it's Qualcomm or Broadcom or Supercom. They've all gone down between 3.7 from Broadcom, to about 8.7 with Supercom. So, that again has sent a signal to investors who are now trying to just hold on to their stocks. So I think Microsoft is back, at the top of the... So what you find in the stock market anyway is this elevator behavior. Sometimes it goes up, then later it goes down. That's the way elevators behave, isn't it? But the artificial intelligence frenzy, I think, has not disappeared. To still be there. Talking about things sinking, Bitcoin also went down. Bitcoin is below $60,000 now. And all of that, we're told, is as a result of sell-offs, trade sell-offs, in the ETF after the FOMC meeting, and then the fact that, interest rates may not even be cut until maybe after the elections, with the Federal Reserve in the United States trying to be very careful. Finally, congratulations to Femi Otedola. I think his shareholding now is 11.64%. We've talked about him again and again on this program as an activist investor, and since he joined the First Bank, taking it over, he has invested over 100 billion. Well, I don't know where these people get the money from, but I think that's what they do in boardrooms. They are active, they take over companies, and they make it profitable. That's the more important thing that Femi Otedola has done, either with Geregu or with First Bank Holdings, making it more profitable, creating more value for shareholders. Thank you very much, Rotus.
Thank you, Rotus. See you at 11 for Global Business Report.